The story begins in Manchuria when a Japanese soldier receives a message from Japan, telling all of the soldiers to withdraw, return, and leave no evidence behind. The general orders Colonel Kato to collect everything that's possible to carry back and burn everything else. All the troops started gathering the dead bodies and piled them up in one place. These people have been used as test subjects for their inhuman experiments. Kato, on the other hand, is more concerned with getting hold of the serum which has been used on humans to transform them into monsters. Abruptly, he hears a tremendous bang, and we witness something attempting to break free. Kato leaves the place in a hurry, and the soldiers use the kerosene to burn the place alongside the monster. Somewhere else, two detectives, the sleuths, arrive in Zhongsang, Yoon and her father Jungwon. Yoon's mother has been missing for 10 years, and they are still searching for her. At the moment, they are trying to find a sketch artist by the name of So Chimoto, who happens to know her mother's whereabouts. Then we get introduced to a man named Taesang. He is renowned throughout the nation for being the information king and the most attractive businessman. While he was having a ball, Police Commissioner Ishikawa detained him. The commissioner first tortures him, then gives him a task to find his girlfriend Myanja who has gone missing, or else he will take away everything Taesang holds dear to him. He considers selling all he owns as soon as he returns home in order to flee. However, he knows that would be dangerous as the commissioner is already keeping his spies on him. Meanwhile, the commissioner is upset. He remembers the time his girlfriend Myanja told him that she's pregnant with his child. Myanja is being held captive along with several other women. Then Colonel Kato and Director Ichiro arrive there, and choose 2 women for their experiment. One of them is Yoon's mother Seishin. They lock them in separate cells, where they notice something on the floor. They start eating the food not knowing the consequences of it. Taesang's employee Nawal brings the famous detectives, the sleuths, to help them find Myanja. But Taesang doubt their ability, which angers Yoon. She denies to help him, but since he really need their help, he offers them to find their mother, or any clues regarding her whereabouts, and her father agrees to help him. So Chimoto gets summoned by the director Ichiro to make a sketch of their experiment. When he gets close to the cell, he notices blood all over the place. Suddenly, a creature leaps towards him, and we are taken back to when he was hired as an observer and recorder for Director Ichiro's experiments and new discoveries. During this time, he met a prisoner named Seishin, Yoon's mother. And now that she has changed into a monster. As Yoon searches for Myanja, she decides to spy on Yukiko, the wife of Ishikawa, and discovers that she has been imprisoning Myanja at the military hospital. Meanwhile, Colonel Kato hears gunshots and comes to find that the woman has completely turned into a creature. Kato gets happy as she kills his soldiers mercilessly. He orders the troops to use nitrogen gas on and move her to a lower basement, while she sleeps. The soldiers use the gas and puts her inside a cage. When they were taking her to the elevator, the nitrogen gas which came in contact with the creature spreads across the hall, and one by one everyone in the prison gets infected. However, Myanja stays in the corner. Yoon goes to the hospital for her investigation to find Myanja, and sees the army soldiers piling up the dead bodies outside. The next morning, the military arrives outside the hospital equipped with weapons. Yoon sends a hospital nurse to give Taesang her message, that she has found Myanja. Taesang asks her what's going inside that hospital. The nurse is so scared, she tells him how a lot of people were killed last night, and no one knows what's going on. He gets worried about Yoon and decides to rescue her. Elsewhere in the hospital's basement, a soldier unit that was sent down the basement where the creature is. As they were elevating down, suddenly a tentacle comes and pierces through one of the soldiers' heart. Others get scared and start shooting aimlessly, as the Colonel Kato watches. However, one of them tries to escape, but the creature attacks him with her tentacles and he witnesses the monster they have created. He begins to shoot the creature and manages to escape from there. Later, Colonel Kato asks if they have succeeded with their experiments. Endo tells him how they have created a monster and begs him to kill it before the time runs out. But Kato is actually impressed by the creature and plans to use it against their enemies in the war. Meanwhile, Yoon is hiding inside the hospital with one of the soldiers. Then her father manages to pass the security check and comes inside her room. The soldiers knows Myanja's whereabouts. They decide to infiltrate the basement and find out what's going on. Elsewhere, Taesang is determined to save Yoon, as he was preparing to go inside the hospital somehow. Then one of his known women brings the man Yoon is looking for, Mr. Sochimoto. Sochimoto is currently working for military. Meanwhile, Yoon is entering the hospital's chimney and enters one of the rooms where she finds human heads stored up in jars, and there were a lot of them. Then she sees a few children locked up in a cell. The kids beg her to save them. She helps them escape, but one of them doctors finds out about the kids escaping and Yoon had to kill him. During this, Taesang has managed to get inside the hospital with Sochimoto's help. While Yoon is getting the kids out, but she doesn't know that some soldiers are present on the rooftop. As she knocks onto the metal, the soldiers hears the sound. Her father gets scared and comes forward to save his daughter. Then suddenly some fireworks distracted their attention and he starts attacking the soldiers. Then Yoon comes out and starts fighting with the soldiers. And one of them was about to shoot her, but she gets saved by Taesang. Taesang asks her forgiveness for coming late. And then asks for Myeonja's whereabouts and gets to know she couldn't bring her. Yoon asks to save the kids first, then she'll find Myeonja. Taesang isn't happy with her doing things her way. Later, when she asked about who the Japanese guy is, Taesang decides to keep his identity hidden from her, that he's Sochimoto. But she later finds out that he is Sochimoto, and shows him a sketch he had drawn before, and asks her mother's whereabouts. Meanwhile, the monster is being trained by Director Ichiro and Colonel Kato, as they think they can tame her, but she has other plans. Elsewhere, although Sochimoto accepts he had drawn the sketch, but he lies that he doesn't know her mother's whereabouts because he knows her mother has turned into a monster. Later, Taesang gives the boy responsibility to take the kids out with him on the rickshaw, and the kids manage to get out as the gate was opened for a special guest, who happens to be the wife of Police Commissioner Ishikawa. She meets with Director Ichiro, and informs him that Taesang is inside the hospital looking for Myeonja, and we get to know that she's the one who got her kidnapped. Then they shift Myeonja in a different cell. Then they proceed to take the elevator, not knowing that Saishim is waiting for them there. Then she starts to massacre whoever comes in her sight. Meanwhile, Taesang and others decide to go down in the basement and look for Myeonja. Taesang asks Yoon to leave the rest to him and get back to safety, but she insists on keep looking for Myeonja until she's found. They go down the basement, where they get chased by one of the soldiers and they start fighting as Taesang's friend Joon leaves them alone. Taesang manages to shoot the soldier, and Jung-won suggests to split up and asks Yoon to stay with Taesang since he's injured. Afterwards, as they continue on together, Taesang spots a body in the corner, and then observes a tentacle carrying a person in the air approaching him. Yoon is watching the creature approach Taesang from within the chamber. The creature lets out a loud cry and begins to attack Taesang as he hides behind the pillar. Subsequently, Yoon stabs it with her knife and fires her gun at it. Taesang grabs her hand and flees the scene, but she pursues them. They get inside a room and block her path. However, a few troops catch them, and one of them is Choi, their friend. When an officer by the name of Soma shows up as they are being taken to the prison cell, he recognizes Taesang and takes him with him. Leaving Yoon behind, Taesang becomes concerned for her and makes the commitment to return and save her. Soma wants him to give him a large sum of money in exchange for helping him escape alive, but Taesang asks to save Myeonja and Yoon also, and tells Soma his plan. Meanwhile, Yoon is getting interrogated by them. Then Colonel Kato comes there, since he knows she saw the creature very closely and wants to talk to her. Later on, when Joon broke away from the gang, he was apprehended by the military. After learning that he is a rebel plotting a revolution against the Japanese army, officers inject something into his body and give him an hour to identify and write everybody's name connected to the intrusion. Elsewhere, Naewol gets a call from Mr. Soma, who gives them Taesang's message. And then he takes all the soldiers away from prison, which enables Taesang to free himself, and he gives the key to one of the prisoners and promises to come back for them. Meanwhile, Yoon is with Colonel Kato. Colonel Kato recognizes her face and gets to know that it was her mother who has been turned into the creature. He then offers her something to drink, knowing she also has the potential to turn into the creature just like her mother, but she's suspicious of it. After that, he orders the soldiers to lock her up and not to touch her until he comes back. Somewhere else, Joon-taek's father is worried about his son. Then he meets with Naewol. She asks them to work together and get them out of the hospital. Yoon, in the meantime, is in the same cell as her mother. She begins to cry as she thinks about her mother when she sees a note her mother put on the wall. Taesang arrives there during this and discovers Yoon sitting silently in the corner. Yoon resolves to search for her mother because she believes she is still alive. Taesang worries about her and informs her that searching for her mother could be considered a suicide. Despite this, Yoon is not afraid and gives Taesang a hug and thanks for his assistance. Taesang also asks Yoon to live no matter what. Yoon approaches Colonel Kato, pointing the weapon in his direction while inquiring about her mother's location. When Tae-sang arrives to save the prisoners, they discover that all of the cells are empty and that there has been a gunshot. Elsewhere, the prisoners were attempting to flee but were shot by the soldiers. Luckily, Tae-sang arrives and saves them. However, as soon as one of them points a gun at him, a creature appears and slams his head against the wall. While Colonel Kato is being threatened by Yoon, and even though he is not at all afraid, he starts by lecturing her about the creature and the science behind it, giving her hints as to how it might actually be her mother. Meanwhile, Tae-sang is facing the creature in another location, and as he starts to shoot her, he notices that the bullets aren't impacting her. When the creature leaps towards him, he sees a nitrogen cylinder and cracks the cylinder top to release the gas, putting her to sleep. Later, Tae-sang encounters Yoon's father, Jung-won, who inquires about her whereabouts and learns that she went in search of her mother after learning that she had once been a prisoner here. Tae-sang requests that Jung-won relocate every prisoner in the ward from the area where no one visits, and he will search for Yoon. In another scene, Yoon is having Kato lead her to her mother at gunpoint. However, they come across some troops ahead of them, and one of them strikes her from behind. Commissioner Ishikawa has arrived at the hospital in the meantime in search of Myanja. And Tae-sang is still searching for Yoon, who has been chained in the open. Colonel Kato orders that the creature be released on Yoon because he wants to know if the creature would even recognize her daughter. The creature slowly approaches Yoon and appears in front of her, but just as she is about to attack, Yoon loudly calls her mother and the creature stops, remembering the time she has spent with her daughter and recognizing her. But Colonel Kato is not happy with this outcome, and he orders his soldiers to kill Yoon. But Seishin shields her from the bullets. When Kato gives the command to release the nitrogen gas, Seishin breaks the chains and pushes her aside. As Yoon realizes that the creature is indeed her mother Seishin, she cries and crawls ahead to protect her, but Tae-sang stops her and drags her away from the harm. Colonel Kato orders the troops to find and kill Yoon and they begin looking for her all over the hospital. Meanwhile, Tae-sang's butler Park is disguised as the truck driver and is waiting for them outside. Elsewhere, Choi is helping Yoon and Tae-sang. They go to the room where Jung-won and other prisoners are hiding. Then Myanja and Soma comes there. Soma asks Tae-sang to help him escape with them. They start to go down the building one by one. Unfortunately, a soldier comes inside the room and sees them, but Choi shoots him and everyone hears the gunshot, and the soldiers head towards the room. Tae-sang asks Yoon to leave while he holds the troops, but she doesn't listen. She doesn't like how he is putting his life on the line for her. The three of them hold the line while others get down. During this, Choi gets shot. Before dying, Choi gives Yoon something and tells her to inform her mother that he misses her. When one of the inmates arrives to retrieve them, as Yoon goes ahead, Tae-sang holds her hand as if he wants to say something to her but is unable to. Following Yoon, Tae-sang requests that the rebel man get down and depart without him because he will be delaying the army as they flee. Knowing that Tae-sang chose to give his life for them infuriates Yoon, but she can't risk endangering anyone else's life, so she leaves while Tae-sang holds the line. Later, he runs away from them through the air shafts, but they pursue him. As he does so, he abruptly falls through a tunnel and lands on a mound of human skeletons. Park drops off Myanja, and she meets Commissioner Ishiwaka in the interim. Ishikawa's truck follows the prisoners as they leave. Back at the hospital, while they're talking about the escapes, Colonel Kato notices the cup is empty and begins to wonder who was unlucky enough to drink the serum. He later asks the soldier and finds out that 4 people entered the room: Yoon, Tae-sang, Soma and Myanja. Park notices the truck tailing them, but because of Tae-sang's pre-planning, they manage to fool them, and all the prisoners leave the town. In another scene, Yukiko, the wife of the commissioner, learns that Ishikawa won't be coming home and figured that he's with Myanja. She meets with Director Ichiro and demands that he resign from his post because he has not been able to carry out his duty of keeping Myanja in prison. Ichiro, however, begs for another opportunity and tells her that he has succeeded in creating a species that has the ability to change a human body into a beast. And we learn that Seishin was imprisoned for the previous 10 years at her command. Elsewhere, Yoon's standing alone at night, waiting for Tae-sang. Meanwhile, Tae-sang wakes up and moves ahead to find a way out. Elsewhere, we get to know that it was Myanja who drank the serum from the cup. Thanks for watching till the end. Do check my channel for more episodes and comment down your thoughts.